whether you had a good weekend or a bad one. The one thing we all can't wait to find out is what the numbers look like for next week. Well, wait no longer, because we have them for you. Time to close the door on this week, and let's take a look ahead to next on the Opening Line Show.
Matt Youmans and Stan Panayotovich here at VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. It is the Opening Line Show where we look ahead. No more this week. We're talking next week here, NFL, and a little bit of college football at the end of the show. I was impressed, though. I have to start with Mitchell Trubisky, who you've been very high on, and you said give the kid time, give him time, give him time. 6 touchdowns today for Trubisky, and the Bears may be the most impressive performance in week number 4 in the NFL.
Trubisky's got the talent. You've been able to see that from the beginning. I mean, it's Matt Nagy's job to bring that out of him, and finally it started to show a little bit today. Now, you and I talked about this. His decision-making has been questionable, and today he did everything right. Now, we'll see if he can do everything right again next week and the week after that, if he can be somewhat consistent, because that Tampa Bay defense, not one of the stronger ones in the NFL, so obviously everything went the Bears' way today. We'll see if Trubisky can sustain that. I think the key, Sam, is I want to know if the little nickname I came up with today catches on. Mitch Magic.
Mitch Magic.
Mitch Magic.
Did he steal that from Ryan Fitzpatrick? I think he did, who was benched. Dirk Cutter.
I said that today. I stole that from Fitzmagic. I said, now, Fitzmagic's history. Now it's Mitch Magic.
You should have heard what they were calling him a couple weeks ago in Chicago. Yeah. You do the math. True Blankski. You got it. But, hey, now let the overreactions begin. Now the Bears score 48, the most points in the league on Sunday. Let's go to the Westgate and check out some lines. John Murray, sportsbook director for the Westgate SuperBook, and Dave Tuley, senior reporter for VSiN.com, with us here on the set here at the Westgate. Gentlemen, let's look at Thursday night. We open it up with the Colts and the Patriots. Johnny, I guess the Patriots are back, even though people were betting them like they were dead this year. A lot of sharp action, a lot of public action on the Dolphins. They get blown out by the Pats, and I know that's built into the line here. Thursday night, Colts at the Patriots. What do we have for a number?
Open the Patriots 10.5, Sammy. It's about 3 points higher than when we closed the look-ahead line at, just because of how well the Patriots played. The Colts also had an overtime game today, and now they got the short week and they got to go on the road.
How about the Colts, Dave? We saw them. They rallied back. I was a little impressed with the way they came back. I was also disappointed with the Texans, a melt, up by 28, or up 28-10, I should say, and tried to give it away. But the Colts keep fighting. You have to like that when you look at an underdog, do you not?
Yeah, coming into the season, I didn't like the Colts very much at all, even with Andrew Luck coming back. But, no, they've been a real resilient team. I mean, obviously they gave away the game at the end today. But, yeah, getting double digits, I'm definitely looking that way Thursday night.
All right, we talked a lot about the Patriots last week. We were joking about the demise of the Patriots, but then they lost Sunday night. They looked terrible in Detroit. They were dominated by the Lions. John Murray, it's basically business as usual with the Patriots. I mean, you're never going to adjust too much one way or another on this team, right, as odds makers?
You don't want to overreact too much, Matt. And you just said it's business as usual. What are the Patriots going to do? They're going to win the AFC East again, and they're probably going to have a first-round bye again.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot of reason to overreact. And I like the Colts. I mean, Houston did everything they could to lose that game to the Colts today. The Colts couldn't take it away. But I do think the Colts are a much better team with Frank Reich instead of Chuck Pagano.
What do you think of Frank Reich's decision to go for it? What was a 4th and 4 in his own territory in the last minute of overtime?
I like it, actually, Matt. I really don't have a problem with it. I think the players wanted him to do that. He's going to earn the respect of his team with that move. I know it didn't work out, but in the post game, Andrew Luck even came out and said, I was really hoping we'd go for it, and it was my fault that we didn't convert it.
Opening number on Sunday. Let's move to Sunday. From Thursday to Sunday we go here on the Opening Line Show on VSiN. Ravens at the Browns. Baltimore favored, question mark?
Yeah, we got the Ravens -1.5 was the opener for this game, Sam. Even though the Browns, their offense is a lot different now with Mayfield in there, we still got the Ravens as a small favorite on the road.
AFC North games always close, always like to take those interdivisional dogs. Dave, you get the Browns defense at home, 1.5. It could get to 2. It might get to 2.5. Who knows how high it gets. Will you look Cleveland here, or will you pass this one?
I would probably need a field goal at home here. Again, we'll see what the Ravens do Sunday night. But, I mean, the Browns are, again, obviously a much better team than they were to start the year. But I still think the Ravens are several levels ahead of them.
The tough thing about playing the Browns is how many times have we seen this team snatch defeat from the jaws of victory?
A lot.
And,
right.
Again, in week 4 of the NFL season, you're seeing the same thing. So, John, I do think this Browns team is a lot better. And Baker Mayfield and the Browns are going to win some games. I would be inclined here if you made the number anything higher than 1.5, I would look at the Browns. How about you?
I kind of like the Browns in this spot, but Matt, I talk myself into the Browns almost every week.
Right.
So I don't know that you really want to ask me for my thoughts on it. But I agree with you, and Baltimore's not that good. But I've been the one touting Cleveland's defense all season, and they struggle today.
Well, now they have a quarterback, though, so it makes the margin for error a little bit better with the Cleveland Browns. How about the Jacksonville?
Well, I want to say one more thing about the Ravens, and they're going to play. They'll be tested by Big Ben, but the Ravens defense, number 1 in the NFL in yards allowed, number 5 in scoring. Do you guys believe that Ravens defense is legit? Because sometimes early in the season, these numbers can be misleading. You've got a small sample size of games. Is the Baltimore defense, in your mind, really a top 5 D?
I don't think they're a top 5 D. I mean, I think they're pretty good, but I wouldn't call them a top 5 defense.
How about Jacksonville? Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I would have them on the fringes of top 5. Although, again, in today's NFL, even the top defenses can get lit up with the rule changes.
Jacksonville at the Chiefs. We're looking at Kansas City -3 in this spot here at home, John. It's going to be hard to talk myself out of that defense getting points on the road, but I know there will be money on Kansas City, too.
Yeah, we've actually seen a lot of sharp money on Denver against Kansas City for tomorrow night's game, Sammy. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night, but if Kansas City doesn't look impressive, this number might come down even more. We opened it Kansas City -3. We took some money right away, and we went to -3, -120 on the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, Jimmy Vaccaro here at the South Point said the same thing. A lot of sharp money, he said, is coming on the Broncos on the Monday night game. And I think the public right now is infatuated with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And it's going to be – I think, John, as an odds maker, you got to pump the Chiefs up a little bit, right? You have to anticipate you're going to have a lot of public action on a high-scoring team like KC.
The public loves teams that cover big point spreads and score a lot of touchdowns. That's the Kansas City Chiefs in a nutshell through 3 weeks, Matt. But the public only remembers what they just saw. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. That could change the Chiefs in the minds of the public, at least.
Okay.
Speaking of what we last saw, the Buffalo Bills did not score a single point against the Green Bay Packers. After upsetting the Vikings, they get goosed in Green Bay. They don't score at all. I know the Titans are favored here, John, in Buffalo, but by how much?
Open Titans -3 in Buffalo, Sammy.
And bet to 3.5.
It was a struggle for my guy Josh Allen today. He didn't look too good. I was hoping for a Nathan Peterman sighting. But no, the public is going to be all over the Titans in this game. You guys know that. The Titans are a cheap road favorite. That's what the public loves. And the Titans are playing pretty well. I really admire Mike Vrabel for going for it and going for the win today, something not many coaches would have done.
Yeah, you're right. And, it pays off for Vrabel. It doesn't pay off for Frank Reich, but you got to have the guts to make that call because as John Murray always says, field goals are for losers.
I think he's upgraded that, though. Isn't it now kicking is for losers? Didn't you upgrade it from field goals? Is it now kicking and punting, or where are we at with this?
I think field goals is for losers. It'll be easier to trademark, Sam.
Yeah.
Whatever's easier to sell T-shirts with, I think is the move. No, we look. You guys saw the Penn State-Ohio State game last night, right?
Oh,
tell me that kicking isn't for losers after that Penn State meltdown.
I was thinking about John Murray as I watched into the game. How about running a draw out of the shotgun on 4th and 5? Is that for losers? Could you put that on a T-shirt?
I don't think we've ever seen that before. Never came up before. But it was certainly questionable, Matt.
My favorite part of that
game,
though.
How about burning 2 timeouts to run that play also on top of that? Yeah.
But then on Ohio State's side, Johnny, when they go, it's 4th and 1, and they're running the play out of the pistol with the running back like 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
That was a wacky game, but Penn State, they left too many points on the board on the field in that game.
Yep.
And they lost by 1. What does that tell you, boys?
It tells you that if you leave too many points on the field, it's going to come back to haunt you in the end. And that's what happened last night with the Nittany Lions. John, I think you should make T-shirts. Field goals are for losers. Can you have those T-shirts made maybe by, let's say, next week's show?
I'm not going to be here next weekend, but I can get one for Dave.
Just take some of that money outside of that big display at the Westgate, and you can finance your shirts there. Just do that. I love the Nationals polo, too, by the way. Let's go to the Giants.
Yeah, I wore this to troll Jay Cornegay, the big Rockies fan. The Rockies won like 50-0, so it really backfired, Sam. But go ahead. We'll go to the next game.
Jay is fired up about that, and he's going to be on the edge tomorrow afternoon to celebrate the Rockies game and talk about the Broncos. But, hey, John, last week on the show, you were very complimentary of Josh Allen. You were gushing over him. It was kind of like a teenage crush.
I think he used the F word, frisky. Didn't he say frisky again?
I think he said frisky. And I guess, John, when you look at what Josh Allen did today, I don't think you can be too discouraged. I mean, you expect rookie quarterbacks to be up one week, down the next, sort of, right?
Teenage crush. Thanks for working that in, Matt. Yeah, no, you definitely expect that with all these rookie quarterbacks. They're going to have games where they go up and down, especially on the road. I know Green Bay's a pretty lousy team, but these rookie quarterbacks are going to have tough afternoons on the road. This Buffalo team isn't exactly loaded either. I think Josh Allen's going to be fine.
Giants and Panthers, gentlemen. This one will be Sunday early, 10 a.m. in Vegas, 1 o'clock out east. Panthers favored. Is it a touchdown? Is it around a touchdown?
We opened Carolina -7. Disappointing effort from the Giants, I thought, today. They just could not stop the Saints. They couldn't get the Saints off the field.
Yeah,
and yet the first bet came in on the Giants and got it bet down to 6.5 here.
Yeah, this is the kind of game that the sharper guys love to take the dog. I feel like we've said that about the Giants every week this season so far.
Well, I was on the Giants for the 4th week in a row, and that's a 3rd loss out of 4 weeks today. Dave, were you on the Giants today as well?
Sure was.
Yep. So it's actually the Giants are not that bad. Today it was a fumble by a backup running back, I believe, that was returned 60 yards and flipped the game in the Saints' favor. And I'm starting to agree with Ed Salmons, John. The more I watch Eli Manning, he's just so immobile. The Giants have to find a more mobile quarterback. Eli was 25 of 29 a week ago at Houston. That offense clicked, but you watch him today. Any team that puts heat on Manning, he cannot get out of the pocket and make any plays whatsoever. And I think the Giants are always going to struggle until they get a quarterback who can move outside the pocket. What do you think?
Well, one of the reasons that Ed and myself are both so critical of the Barkley pick was the Giants don't have a quarterback. Like, you're picking 2nd overall in the draft. You've got all these QB prospects on the board, and you take a running back? That was just a ridiculous pick. And as these quarterbacks like Allen, like Josh Rosen, these guys develop, it's going to look even worse. The Giants have no long-term answer at quarterback. They don't even have a short-term answer at quarterback. And they're investing the 2nd overall pick in a running back.
Well,
questionable.
I think it'll look worse if those quarterbacks do develop. If they don't, then it's not going to look like that bad a decision. My thing with the Barkley pick was I don't really like Sam Darnold that much. I don't like Josh Rosen that much or Josh Allen. Baker Mayfield was the quarterback I liked the most in the draft class, and he was off the board. I don't really like the other guys. I mean, do you like these other rookie quarterbacks, John?
Yeah, I do, actually. I think Rosen could be good. I mean, he's in a pretty messy situation in Arizona this season. But, I've been saying that they should switch Bradford out for Rosen pretty much since the beginning of the year. Right. And I like his chances. I don't know about Darnold. The jury's kind of out on Darnold for me, but he's played against some good defenses the last couple of weeks. Well, I thought Cleveland was a good defense.
I think the jury's out on all these guys, really. I mean, I've called Josh Rosen possibly the next Jay Cutler. He kind of looks like that type of guy to me. I don't know. Josh Allen's probably got a high ceiling. What do you think, Sammy? How do you evaluate these quarterbacks?
It's hard to tell. I'd like to see more. It's a cop-out, but, it's only been 4 weeks.
That's fair. That's a fair statement.
We're 25% through the season. Remember, after week 1 and 2, ESPN put that graphic up. Which quarterback is the best of the 4? Yeah. And Trubisky wasn't on it. I bet you he's on the graphic tomorrow. I bet you he's front and center on the graphic tomorrow. Dave.
Sammy, I loved when ESPN was asking if Josh Allen was a bust during the preseason. They didn't even want to see him play one game before they started asking if he's a bust. Don't even let him play one regular season game. Is this guy a bust or not?
We are so quick to rush to judgment in the NFL. Before we grab a timeout, Dave, one question for you. Now, bettors, they play numbers. They don't play teams. I know the team is not that great, but if you get a 7 on the Giants, are you going to look to holster your weapon or are you going to fire?
Boy, it's going to be hard to fire again on the Giants after they let me down last couple of weeks. But again, it'll end up being, depending for my super contest plays, on what other games I like. But it's not going to be one of my top plays, even at the +7.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards passing on the Giants for the first time in 5 weeks myself. It's what I saw today was a little discouraging. I mean, John Murray, I think what discouraged me most about the Giants was when the Saints were backed up at their own 1 yard line with over 2 minutes to go in the game. Giants need one stop to get the ball back, and they let the Saints go 99 yards for a touchdown. That's completely ridiculous.
That's a very back-breaking drive. You know, when you looked at the Giants' schedule before the season started, their first 7 games were so difficult. They looked like a team that might start the year 2-5 or 1-6. And they're certainly headed in that direction.
John Murray, Dave Tuley, live at the Westgate SuperBook. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich here at VSiN. We'll come back. We'll look at more lines for Week 5 of the NFL, the opening line show here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live. Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on the Opening Lines Show.
Matt Youmans and Sam Panayotovich here at VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. We're joined by the gentlemen we're always joined by on a Sunday night here in Vegas, Dave Tuley and Johnny Murray over at the Westgate SuperBook. Dave from VSiN.com and John, of course, director of the Westgate SuperBook. Let's pick it up where we last left off, guys. Week 5 lines, New York Jets and the Denver Broncos. John, before you give the number, I know you were ecstatic to see the Jets kick a field goal down by about 18 today. Kick a field goal, you know, it's always important to go from 18 to 15 in a football game.
I think it was 25-3 and they kicked a field goal to cut it to 22, or was it 22-3 and they kicked it to cut it to 16?
Whatever it was stupid and the math was bad.
Do you think that was a good decision by the Jets coaching staff?
I'm going to say no.
Well, I go back a week, Dave and John, to when Anthony Lynn sent out the kicker. And, John, I know you're not a big fan of the Chargers coach, But last week, Chargers were down 15 in the fourth quarter, and he sent out the kicker to cut the deficit to the all-important number of 12.
You know, today they were up by 2, and they were inside the 49ers 40, and they punted on 4th down. And the 49ers ran a play. They got it right back across the 30. Now the 49ers threw an interception on the next play.
Right.
So nobody will ever remember it except for me. I will remember it. That was a ridiculous decision. He should have gone for it. He punted it, and the Niners were almost right back to the spot right away. Punting's for losers, man. I'm going to get a couple of shirts made.
That's what I said. You're starting to go all over the map here. You're starting to kind of divide.
I think now it's just kicking is for losers.
Yes,
right?
yes. This is actually the name of the show is now Kicking is for Losers with John Murray and Dave Tuley. What's the number on the game? What do we got? Jets favorite?
Sorry. Oh, you led me down that road, Sammy. The Jets are minus 2.5, sir.
Okay. 2.5. The Broncos, we'll see what happens on Monday night. That number, of course, could change here. Dave, any pulse on this one? What's your early reaction to this number? Jets minus 2.5 against Denver.
I don't think the Jets should be favored over just about anybody. So, I mean, I would definitely side with the Broncos, although, you know, again, not getting to the key number of 3. You're still pretty much trying to pick the winner. But, again, we'll see if the Broncos do on Monday night.
Yeah, I think the key for the Broncos on Monday night, they got to put pressure on the passer. Patrick Mahomes has not been pressured at all yet this season. Really, he's basically sitting back there in the rocking chair, and you got Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. You got to find ways to get that front 7 in his face. If they can do that to Mahomes tomorrow night, they should be able to do it to Sam Darnold next week. So you get rookie quarterbacks here back-to-back against the Denver defense. Actually, Mahomes is not a rookie, but he feels like a rookie because he only played, you know, essentially in Week 17 last year. But, I mean, he's playing like a veteran, but the guy's got the experience of a rookie.
Falcons at the Steelers, gentlemen. We're looking at Pittsburgh here minus 4, and, of course, that number could shift with whatever happens on Sunday Night Football. Steelers minus 4 against the Falcons, who had a heart-wrenching loss today, Johnny, at home against the Bengals. Cincinnati now 3-1. They get the late heroics from Andy Dalton. So the Falcons now catching 4 at Pittsburgh.
You know, Atlanta's secondary looked like a mess today, Sammy. The Bengals receivers were running wide open all over the field. Now you go to Heinz Field. You got Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. You got to think Pittsburgh's offense is going to have a field day.
Well, I think this game is going to be over the total, whatever the number is. Whatever this number is, I'll probably go over it because.
Yeah, but Sammy, you know, not so loud. We have a bookmaker here. He can set it whatever number he wants.
You don't even want to see the total,
It's
Sammy.
going to be 66 points probably.
How high?
Sammy,
seriously, how high?
It's going to be in the high 50s, mid to high 50s.
57 probably, somewhere, I would guess.
57 between the Steelers and the Falcons. How about the Packers and the Lions here, guys? We've got Green Bay, a short favorite in Detroit. Detroit covered again. Good teams win, great teams cover. Lions have covered a good chunk of the games this year, but they're a home dog by how much, John?
Green Bay a 1-point favorite on the road in this game, Sammy.
Tough spot for the Packers, Dave. If you watch Aaron Rodgers, he's been hobbling the past couple weeks. Packers got a win they absolutely had to have today against the Bills. You can't lose at home to a team like the Bills like the Vikings did a week ago. But I think Aaron Rodgers has struggled in the past in games in Detroit, and on this bad knee, I'm inclined to look at the Lions side here, Dave. I think this is a home dog that might interest you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, yeah, I'm not so sure that the Lions might not get bet to favoritism. Again, you know, depending on if the public does abandon Aaron Rodgers a little bit. Although, obviously, you know, shutting out the mighty Bills certainly helps.
How about the Lions losing today at the buzzer? How does that, Dave or John, I guess, shape the perception of the Lions? They are 1-3, but they're a team that's played much better the past couple weeks.
That hurt us here at the book, Matt. We wanted the Lions to win that game. I think the Lions are pretty much what we thought they were going to be coming into the season. They're not as bad as they looked against the Jets. They're not as good as they looked against the Patriots. They're right somewhere in the middle. They're about what we thought they would be.
John, you're not high on the Packers, though, right? I mean, you take this quarterback off this team, they're probably like a 4-5 win team. He's covering up so many cuts on the body here. I mean, what's the true power rating on the Packers here? If you had to rank the teams in the North, where would the Packers be of the 4 in your mind?
Yeah, I've said before, I think that the Bears, I said this before they played in Week 1, the Bears are better than Green Bay at every position on the field except for quarterback. Rodgers is so good I guess that Green Bay would be second behind Minnesota with the Bears third. But those numbers are pretty fluid right now with the way the Bears are playing, especially after today, Sam.
And, now that Mitch Magic is going to catch on and spread across the nation, that nickname's really going to catch on. Once again, that's Mitch Magic.
Mitch Magic.
I think the Bears are going to get more popular with the betting public as well.
Is that a reference to Mitch Moss or Mitch Trubisky, just so I know before I start using it?
You know what? You could apply that to Mitch Moss as well if you wanted to.
So it's a versatile nickname?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
No, I mean, I think the Bears are going to climb up the power rating, Sammy. But with Aaron Rodgers, the Vikings are still considered better than the Bears. The Vikings and the Packers are, I mean.
Dolphins and the Bengals. We saw the Bengals win. We just mentioned it. They win in the fourth quarter in the final seconds against the Atlanta Falcons. And now we're seeing the Bengals, a pretty sizable favorite, John, at home against the Miami Dolphins, who just got whooped in New England.
Yeah, we opened at Bengals -5.5, and it's because of what you just said. More than anything, the Dolphins-Patriots result today, I think it exposed Miami in the minds of a lot of bettors as kind of a fool's gold 3-0 team. And the Bengals have a lot of playmakers on offense, guys. They've got some pretty good players at the wide receiver position right now. They did lose Tyler Eifert probably for the year today.
Yeah, that's kind of a big loss. The Bengals offense, and now Joe Mixon's been out. They lose Tyler Eifert, and that's going to show up on the field, Sam.
No doubt about it. I don't know how the Dolphins recover. I just don't know about Ryan Tannehill, John. I'd love to zig when everybody else zags, and that would mean take the Dolphins here. You take the Dolphins off a bad loss. You take the Bengals, you go against them off a big win. But I don't know about Miami. I think they're still kind of soft, and this is a total pass for me. What about you, Dave? How do you cap this one?
I think you pretty much summed it up there. It makes sense to fade the Bengals, who've been very good to me this year. But I'm definitely going to jump off them. I think this line's too high. They shouldn't be laying 5.5 points to anybody. And even though, like you said, the Dolphins were exposed against the Patriots, I mean, they're still not as bad as they look today. And they can certainly play the Bengals down to a field goal.
Yeah, I'd agree with him, actually. I think the Bengals line looks a little bit inflated here. I'd probably put it at 3.5 or 4.
Well, now they're favorites, right? I mean, they've been dogs all season long, and now you got to lay 5.5.
Well, it's that role reversal. When you have a team that's in the underdog role the whole year and you flip it and make that team a favorite, then you want to bet against that team. I like to bet against the team in the role reversal situation.
Johnny, one of my favorite pastimes on Sunday, I've been talking about this for years, any chance I can get. I love Phillip Rivers in the fourth quarter. No matter what the spread is, favorite dog, the guy is always running for his life with the game on the line. We saw that again today. As a 10-point favorite, Chargers were down in that fourth quarter to the Niners, and now Los Angeles at home faces the Raiders. I know they'll be favored. I don't like laying them as favorites, but what's the number here on the Chargers?
I think we talked about it last week, guys. The Chargers are just a lousy home favorite. They have been for years. They barely won today. They didn't cover. Next week, we got them as a 6-point favorite at home against the Raiders. I use the word home loosely. I would imagine it's going to be mostly Raiders fans of that game.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. At the StubHub Center in L.A., it's basically going to be Raiders fans. Raiders today got really fortunate, kind of pulled a rabbit out of a hat to get that win against the Browns in overtime. I really questioned some things that happened there. The officiating at the end, it looked like the game was over. Respot the ball, make it a fourth down. The Browns have to punt, and the Raiders get lucky to get the game to OT and win, Sammy. So I think they kind of got the monkey off their back in that regard. Instead of being 0-4, John Gruden gets his first win in about a decade. You don't get the same sense of desperation maybe out of the Raiders that you would have had. That said, I absolutely never bet the Chargers in the favorites role. So I will not be laying points with the Chargers.
You can't do it. You just can't do it. Last one here in the first half of the opening line show on VSiN. Dave Tuley, John Murray live at the Westgate. The 49ers with C.J. Beathard at quarterback. This is going to be a really good game. 49ers at home against the Cardinals. First to 20 is going to win this one. What's the line here, John?
Should be a barn burner. We opened at 3. Now, some of our competitors in faraway markets open the 49ers a 5.5 point favorite. This number's been pushed up to 49ers -4, guys. It says a lot about the Cardinals.
Well, their defense, Matt, their defense is really good. The problem is they don't know what they're doing offensively. They don't know how to call plays, and they don't know how to use David Johnson. He finally got his first touchdown today.
Yeah.
Took 4 weeks to get this guy involved.
Well, you got to consider, too, you had an old, incompetent quarterback in there running the Arizona offense. Cardinals went into today, Sammy, averaging 6.7 points per game.
That's good?
That's 6.7 more than me, you, Dave, and John, and 7 other guys would have averaged if we had an offense we put together in a week. 6.7 points. So Josh Rosen, I think, gives him a little bit of hope. I'm not real high on him, but he can make some throws. He's got a little mobility. He's much better than Sam Bradford. John Murray's right about that. You had to make the move. You had to get Josh Rosen in there. So I think that gives the team a little bit of a spark. This is really a tough one for me to handicap here because do you want to take the Cards on the road getting 3?
No!
I would probably have to get. I would probably have to get like this is up.
7.
This is up to 4, right?
Yeah,
This is up to 4.
Yeah.
I was going to say I would probably have to get 4, 5 points somewhere in that range before I would even think about it. So yeah, it looks like it opened a little bit cheap.
Dave, how many would you need here to pull the trigger on Arizona? How many points?
Yeah, just give me 3 in the hook. I mean, the Cardinals came through. Of course, they were at home today against the Seahawks, but I cashed on the plus 3.5. And I mean, their game against the Bears last week looks a heck of a lot better this week. So, I mean, I think they're playing a lot better, and yeah, the 49ers are nothing special.
I'm looking at the total here. I'm just guessing the lines here. I know we love to guess the lines on VSiN from time to time, but I'm looking at the total today. Arizona-Seattle was 40. I imagine, John, this will open up lower than that, right? It has to be probably high 30s, you would guess?
It's going to be pretty similar, I would think. The 49ers offense with Kyle Shanahan, Beathard actually looked pretty good today to me, Sam. I thought he played fine. I think that 49ers offense is going to be good as long as they have Kyle Shanahan as the coach.
Beathard did.
And Seattle's offense is terrible. Russell Wilson's just running for his life the whole game.
Yeah, he was. Russell Wilson runs into a lot of sacks, too, and the Seattle offensive line is pathetic. But he made a good point. I thought C.J. Beathard played better than expected today. He was a mediocre college quarterback at Iowa. You remember watching Big Ten football. Did you ever think C.J. Beathard was going to be an NFL starter?
No.
Probably not.
No.
Right?
I thought that maybe there'd be a couple injuries to some quarterbacks.
Right. But he's out there last season. He's out there today, and he actually looked respectable today. So I upgrade the Niners a little bit after watching Beathard today. I thought he was serviceable. They could probably win a few games with him.
Possibly. I guess we'll wait and see. We'll find out. We've got 12 weeks left to go. That's Matt Youmans. I'm Sam Panayotovich at the Westgate. We're live with John Murray and Dave Tuley. We'll come back. We'll look at some more lines for Week 5, the late games, and the primetime ones here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
I'm Brent Musburger, reminding you that the football betting season is here. There is nothing like it. Are you ready to celebrate the thrill of victory and cash a ticket even on defeats? Sharpen your edge now with the help of Matt Youmans, Dave Tuley, and the rest of my guys in the desert. We'll get you prepared for the football season with exclusive handicapping stories and data that you won't find anywhere else. Go to vsin.com/subscribe for the package that makes sense for you, including a 1-week trial at no charge. Our new all-access subscription includes Point Spread Weekly, VSiN's digital magazine designed to make you a better handicapper and avoid the agony of defeat. You'll also get VSiN's 140-plus page college football betting guide, followed by our comprehensive pro football betting guide in August. Sign up now, vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. Remember, cashing tickets is what it's all about.
Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on The Opening Lines Show.
You know how it works here on the Opening Line Show on VSiN. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich, every Sunday night at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. We talk about the Lions for the week ahead in the NFL. We'll get some college reaction at the end of the show as well. Dave Tuley, John Murray, live at the Westgate SuperBook. Gentlemen, we resume late slate on Sunday, and this will be a popular game. Revenge on the mind for the Minnesota Vikings in more ways than one. They want to avenge their loss against the Rams last week. And, of course, this was the NFC Championship match last year. Philly got the win. Johnny, what do we make the number here? Eagles at home against the Vikings.
Eagles a 3-point favorite at home. This is a big game for the Vikings, Sammy. If they lose this game, they're 1-3-1. Chicago looks good. Green Bay looks good. Minnesota really, this is a critical game for them early in the season.
John, as an odds maker, how much do you take into account that the Vikings are going to be really frisky coming off back-to-back losses?
Frisky for me, and then I can answer the question. I think it's a must win because they've lost 2 games in a row. They've got 3 extra days to prepare. That definitely helps them. So I think both those downgraded this line a little bit.
What's with the Philly offense, John? I've been asking this for a couple weeks, and I keep getting excuses about Philly. Well, they didn't have Carson Wentz. They've had Wentz for a couple games. They haven't looked much better than when Foles was there. When you watch this game and you watch the film on the Eagles and you watch it, what are you seeing here that I'm missing?
They don't look like the team they were last year, Sam. I agree with you on that. You know, usually when these guys have these major knee injuries, it takes them more than a year to recover fully from it.
Right.
It's possible Wentz is still not back to the level he was at before he got hurt last year against the Rams. I don't want to get too crazy here because the Eagles could have easily won today, but they definitely don't look like the team that they were last season.
You know, I said the same thing about Deshaun Watson and Wentz coming off these injuries. I wasn't overly optimistic that they were going to look like the same quarterback right away because I had a similar injury playing basketball where you blow out your ACL and your MCL. You don't feel like the same player. You don't feel like you used to be pre-injury for about a year and a half. Now, obviously, these guys are younger, and that's their full-time job is rehab around the clock, so he's going to recover sooner. But I still think it's a lot to expect a guy like this to come back. It's not even a full year, John. It's like 9 months. He was hurt. He blew out his knee on December 10th of last year. So I think expectations for Carson Wentz coming back and looking like his old self, he was an MVP favorite before he went down last year. I think expectations for him coming back so soon were a little bit too aggressive. Do you agree?
I do agree, and you just said it. He got hurt in December of last year, so it's less than a year. And we don't want to overreact too much. I'm still a big believer in Carson Wentz. I think the Eagles are going to be just fine. I still think they're going to win the NFC East. But
Dave,
I know what Sammy's saying. They've struggled.
Yeah, Dave, I know you love to take undervalued underdogs here. You've got Minnesota. You're going to get probably their best effort. I don't know if Trey Waynes is playing yet. He had a concussion for the Vikings in the last game in Los Angeles. But you get a really hungry team that actually they threw the ball pretty well. 4 touchdowns for Kirk Cousins here. Will you look at the Vikings or do you stay away?
My first gut instinct is I'm probably going to stay away on this one. The number looks a little short. Again, obviously the Eagles aren't playing as well as they were last year. But I mean, they're still the Eagles, and they're 2-2. John was talking about the Vikings in a must-win situation. I mean, the Eagles are 2-2. They don't want to fall to 2-3 either. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a really good game. But I think I would need a couple more points, I think, and I don't think I'm going to get it. I think the line 3 looks about right.
Dave, we lowered the line due to the Vikings' friskiness that Matt alluded to. That's
I
why
don't
the
know.
number's a little short.
Seriously, though, I don't know, John, and maybe you can answer this. Do the Vikings have an identity on offense? Do they have one? Or do they have an identity as a team? Because last year, run the football, eat clock, stop teams on defense. I don't know what they are right now.
Well,
that's
when
why
you trade for Kirk Cousins, that's part of what you get, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they are, though, right now. And I think that's the issue I have, Johnny, with Minnesota.
I agree with you, and, they're very lucky, all kidding aside. They should be 1-3. If it wasn't for that ridiculous Clay Matthews penalty a couple of weeks ago, they would have lost 3 games in a row.
Yes.
They don't have an identity, and they need to find one quickly. Because like I said earlier, Green Bay and Chicago are both pretty good. Chicago especially looks much better than expected.
He makes a good point. We've talked about that before, too, and I said trade for Cousins. I actually signed him as a free agent and pay the guy about $28 million a year. But he threw the game-ending pick at Lambeau Field that game was over. Packers won. That BS roughing the passer call gave them life and basically let them off the hook and allowed the Vikings to tie that game. But, you are correct. When you bring in Kirk Cousins, you kind of get away. You have to create a new identity on offense. I don't think the Vikings have found it yet. Now, they did look good Thursday night against the Rams in that shootout, but that's not what this Vikings team's built for, right? They're supposed to be stingy on the defensive side and playing in lower scoring games, and all of a sudden now it looks like a Big 12 football game when the Vikings are involved.
They threw the ball 50 times. 50 times. Now, granted, they were chasing most of the game, but that's a lot of tosses for Minnesota. Last Sunday afternoon game, gentlemen, for the first time this season, I was actually surprised to learn this. For the first time this season, the LA Rams will leave the state of California. Believe it or not. This is the first game outside of California. They go to Seattle. How big of a favorite here, John? Rams at the Seahawks.
We opened the Rams 7.5. It's since been bet down to Rams -7. I got a feeling there's going to be some public bettors happy to lay that 7 between now and Sunday, Sammy.
You think? I think, yeah.
-7,
-7, that's it? Yeah, let's call it a hunch. Yeah, no doubt about it, Matt. -7, Rams really good, Seahawks really bad. It's a dunk.
Well, you look
no Earl Thomas for Seattle, I would think.
Right.
I haven't seen the official report yet, but I saw him carted off the field. I would imagine he's out for Seattle.
Yeah, it sure looks like Earl Thomas is going to be out for a little while. And the Rams, with that defensive front, that combination of that defensive front and the Seahawks' weak offensive line, I think Russell Wilson's going to be on the run again this week. This guy might end up getting sacked. If he survives, Dave and John, if he survives the season, he might end up the most sacked quarterback in NFL history. It's incredible. Every drop back, he's under pressure. I think you have to make the Rams full 7-point favorites. You're right. And I wouldn't be shocked to see this number go to 7.5. People just love the Rams and that explosive offense right now. John, do you think this number will go above 7?
Yeah, we'll see it above 7 in some shops around Vegas, Matt. The public's going to be all over the Rams in that afternoon time slot. A lot of parlays, a lot of teasers from the morning games going to the Rams in the afternoon. The books are going to need Seattle pretty big next Sunday.
Cowboys and the Texans, Sunday night, Mr. Tuley. Your Texans are now favored by 3.5. Well, they did close as the favorite today. They opened as a dog, closed as a favorite. Now they're laying 3.5 to the Cowboys. You are the tried and true Texans guy here. What do you make of this number opening up 3.5?
Yeah, let the record show that I had a bet on the Texans today, although my ticket was +1 and also pick them, but I bet on a favorite today. But, I'm hoping that they start turning things around here. But I don't think they should be 3.5-point favorite here. I think, I was expecting it to be a 2.5 or 3.
Cowboys are
it's tough.
Jekyll and Hyde type of team, man. Tough
both of them, both of these teams.
Yeah.
Sammy, the Texans had a convincing win today. What are you talking about, bud?
I had +2. I had +2 and +1, and I was about to flip out.
Well, you should have been okay because if Frank Reich punts the ball instead of going for it there in overtime, you're going to get at least a tie. So you got plus points. You would have been okay. The Texans would be 0-3-1. Frank Reich gambled because he knows John Murray says kicking is for losers, so he went for it, blew up in his face, and the Texans win the game. But I think this is a very difficult one to handicap. I hate to say I lean towards the Cowboys getting 3 and a hook because the Cowboys, Dave, have been so bad on the road at Carolina and at Seattle, 2 of the worst performances by any team this season.
Oh, that is very true. Yeah, their offense has definitely disappeared on the road. But, the Texans, again, they haven't been putting up very many points either. So it's we're going to kind of a battle of attrition here in Texas next week.
And these teams haven't been great covering spreads either. Dallas now 1-3, and you look at the Houston Texans also 1-3. So that's enough to cross this one off. How about Monday night? Johnny, Redskins at the Saints in New Orleans. They're going to be going wild down in the Bayou. Saints, how big of a favorite here at home against Washington?
Saints a 7-point favorite at home against the Redskins. Redskins coming off their bye, but New Orleans coming off an impressive performance today on the road against the New York Giants.
I was impressed by the Saints. I thought the Giants would win that game today, right?
So did I.
And, the Saints, back-to-back road games, go to New York, take care of business. So I think the Saints will probably take care of business back home at the Superdome. They have not played well. They were fortunate not to start the season 0-2 against the Buccaneers and the Browns in their first 2 home games. I think there's a chance here they could put up 40-plus points on the Redskins defense. I know John Murray loves his Redskins, but in the Superdome on a Monday night, I could see the Saints putting up a big number. How about you, John?
You know, the Redskins have been actually pretty good under Jay Gruden as a road underdog, Matt.
Right.
But it's always hard to contain that Saints offense in the Superdome. The Redskins are going to need to put up a lot of points on Monday.
No, I'm with you there. I usually prefer to play the Redskins in the road dog role, and that was true with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. It might stay true with Alex Smith. I've always liked to look at the Redskins as road dogs, and I hate to play them as home favorites. I like to bet them against them as home favorites. But the Superdome, John, on a Monday night, I think it's kind of tough to play the dog sometimes.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's a tough spot for the Redskins, but they are coming off their bye week, like I said earlier. They might be able to keep this one close, Matt. The Redskins are a frisky little team.
They are. This smells like a John Murray best bet for Week 5. Redskins and the points.
I think we're getting there. Dave, how about the Redskins? How much do you factor in the bye here? Redskins off the bye, extra time to prepare, a little bit healthier perhaps. Does that factor into your cap here?
Not really, because it seems like every other year, some year the teams off a bye do really good, and the next time they don't do good. It's the same thing with Thursday games. Sometimes they go over a lot, sometimes they go under, and then everyone tries to, backtrack on their handicapping and say they saw it coming. So I don't give them too much of an edge here. This is a game where I'll probably be with all the squares and sharps as well, teasing the Saints down and seeing. Hopefully, I'm alive to the Monday night game.
Wait a minute. Did Dave Tuley just say he's going to tease a favorite?
Dirty little secret. I do when I play favorites. It's more often I'm teasing them in combination.
I'm going to tell you something shocking about Dave Tuley's personal life right now. I'm just kidding. It's not about his personal life. In our Point Spread Weekly digital magazine, we pick certain games we're forced to pick every week. And Clemson was a 24-point favorite over Syracuse this week. I about fell out of my chair when Dave Tuley played Clemson laying 24 points. That's more points than I've seen him lay combined in the past 5 years. He laid 24 with Clemson. Dave, what's wrong with you?
Like you said, we're forced to pick those games, and
on Tuesday, mind you.
On Tuesday, but I couldn't make a case except for the fact that they beat them last year. I really thought that Clemson. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to put a big numbers. Of course, he got hurt, and I just couldn't make a case for the dog, and took a loss there.
Shocking.
Sam, you don't want to pick Sunday's games on Tuesday, buddy.
No, that's
you don't want to do that.
That's what Matthew McConaughey does in the pictures, I've been told. John Murray, Dave Tuley live at the Westgate. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich here at VSiN. We'll come back. We'll look at the biggest games in college football next here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live. Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on the Opening Lines Show.
Just enough time for some college football lines here. The Opening Line Show on VSiN, wrapping it up here on a Sunday.
How
Matt,
crazy is college football every week? I mean, every Saturday is like a mini March Madness with games from morning to night and crazy point spread decisions, Sammy. And I know you've been on the wrong side of some of the crazy beats.
Oh, Arizona was bad this week. Last week I was on Iowa, Illinois, and Oregon in Point Spread Weekly. So that was ideal. Ideally, you get some good luck back in your favor, but we shall see. Let's move to the slate here. The Win has these bad boys up right now. Dave Tuley, John Murray, live at the Westgate SuperBook with Matt and Sam here on VSiN. LSU, number 5 in the country right now, boys. -3 at number 22, Florida. Are the Tigers for real, John?
You know, I made fun of Ed Orgeron and the Tigers like all offseason and predicted them to be really bad this year. That prediction got away from me, Sammy. I guess I'm going to have to say yes. They look good every week. I have to say yes, although, you know, Florida's much improved under Dan Mullen. Very nice win on Saturday in Starkville against his old team, Mississippi State.
I think Dave Tuley's going to look at the home dog here, too, and I might as well.
Yeah.
Dave? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I understand where LSU coming from with them, and certainly deserve to be favored on the road. But no, Florida. I mean, although there was kind of an ugly game that they won last week, but I'll roll with them again.
Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, Texas. They opened it up at the Win at 8. Now it's 7.5, boys. What do we make of this one? Texas, Oklahoma, Red River Shootout.
I love Tom Herman, Sam. I think Tom Herman is an excellent coach. Although, you know, Texas almost blew that Kansas State game in the second half yesterday. Should be a pretty close game. I think, if anything, this number looks a little high to me, Sammy.
Texas did blow the cover against K-State, too. It was up 19-0, won the game 19-14. So, you know what's funny about this? Chris Andrews opened the game of the year here at Oklahoma -12. It got all the way down to, what, 5?
5.
And now we're kind of in the middle here at 7.5 or 8.
And Tom Herman, as an underdog, as a head coach, he's 11-1. 11-1 against the number as a dog, as a head coach. Notre Dame, now number 6 in the country. And I think maybe the coaching decision of the year in college football, because we know Tua over Hurts wasn't a real conversation. Taking out Wimbush, Johnny, and putting in Ian Book has completely unleashed this offense. They're more consistent. Things flow a lot more. And now the Irish are already 5-point favorites here against Virginia Tech on the road.
You don't think Saban agonized over that Tua Hurts decision, Sammy?
Nope.
No, you know, Notre Dame, you're right. Notre Dame looks a lot better with Book in there as quarterback. Notre Dame's got a very clear path to the college football playoff if they can get this win on Saturday in Blacksburg.
Yeah, I was going to write something about that for the New York Post on Tuesday about Notre Dame's clear path to the title, John. And there's not too many hurdles left. At Virginia Tech, at USC are 2 of them. And Kenny White said before he left the studio, veteran Vegas odds maker, said he makes this closer to Notre Dame -1 or pick 'em. Did you how much debate do you think there will be among your odds makers about this number? Do you think it's clear that it should be Notre Dame more than a field goal?
Well, you know, Virginia Tech, they looked better with their new quarterback as well,
Right.
Matt. They're coming off a very good win on the road against Duke. That was a great win yesterday. 4.5 does seem a little high to me. We'll see. We'll see what Ed Salmons does. Ed Salmons, the college football and NFL expert.
Let's squeeze in a couple more. Washington, number 10 in the country. They go to UCLA. Chip Kelly, 1-3 against the number. He's lucky not to be 0-4. They barely covered against Oklahoma. They're a mess right now. Washington -21. Dave, can you pull the trigger on the Bruins here? 21 points at home.
No thanks. I went with BYU against Washington yesterday, and that did not go very well. And UCLA, again, Kelly will eventually gets his players in there, but I wouldn't back him right now.
That's bad.
It almost looks to me like the Bruins kind of quit on Chip Kelly in the second half of the Fresno State game at the Rose Bowl. What else do we have?
We got one more. We're talking Alabama at Arkansas, the number 1 Crimson Tide. How high is this number? Alabama -35.5 at Arkansas. And John, Doug Kazarian all over this Alabama first half. They are undefeated against the number in the first half, but they're laying 35.5 for the game.
Ed asked me to make this number, Sammy. I made it 33. He said, no, that's way too low. They'll be up 28-0 halfway through the first quarter.
Wow, 35 points here on the road. I mean, they're covering games like crazy, though, man. It doesn't matter. And they're not going to take their foot off the gas against Arkansas. They'll do it against Lafayette. They won't do it against Arkansas.
If you bet Arkansas, I think your best bet is for Alabama to jump out all over them and then call off the dogs. That's how the UL Lafayette bettors won yesterday. You almost want Alabama to get off to a big lead and then call off the dogs and be unable to cover these ridiculous numbers.
For John Murray, for Dave Tuley, he's Matt Youmans. I'm Sam Panayotovich. Thanks for listening to the Opening Line Show here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.